We're actually at the end of the tail end of the program, where we'll be looking at stories that have made it to the front pages of the newspaper. Starting off with Daily Trust, we have right here Jigawa tanker inferno. Grieving families recount incidents as over 120 buried. I lost 4 children. 5-hour murder, policemen among victims. Enemy urges members to offer help. Tinubu, governors, speaker, and others mourn. You'd find that on page 4. You know, the picture there shows the community members conveying bodies of the victims during a mass burial. The tanker after it fell before the explosion, and the tanker right after the explosion. All those pictures are there. And then we also have Senate investigates alleged plot to impeach Akpabio. That's on the top left on page 13. And still there, reps to Tinubu transmit 2025 budget to National Assembly without further delay. Lawmakers demand reversal of petrol price hike. Now bottom, Shetima heads for Sweden as Nigerians await Tinubu's return. And federal government to deploy satellite to monitor terrorists and bandits. That's on page 6. On page 7, Sokoto begins sale of subsidized rice at 38,700 naira per bag, and Lagos announces 85,000 naira minimum wage for workers. All right, interesting stories we have there on the front pages of the Daily Trust newspaper. If you're interested, do well to pick a copy and keep yourself informed. Now moving on to The Guardian. Opposition in disarray as internal crisis batter PDP, LP, and NNPP. Revert to old petrol price, reps tell presidency. Which of the old prices? Let's be specific. All right, now still there. Senate probes impeachment rumor as presidency declares no leadership vacuum. Nigeria loses 855,000 of crops to flooding in 2024, says FOA. Rivers lawmakers faction insist INEC must conduct by-election. CSO seeks dismissal of governor's suit against the EFCC, and we need consistent policies to attract foreign capital. JP Morgan tells Nigeria. Ayeto Oando blame host communities for oil theft and pipeline vandalism. So the stories we have on the front pages of The Guardian newspaper. Now moving on next to Blueprint. Up there, still on impeachment, reports of impeachment plot against Akpabio fake. Federal government committed to reshaping global perception of Nigeria. All right. And then Nigeria denies apologizing to Libya over, that's in sports, Nigeria denies apologizing to Libya over Super Eagles ordeal. And then right there on Jigawa tragedy, 105 bodies given mass burial and over 70 hospitalized. These are the stories we have on the front pages of the Blueprint newspaper. And finally, we have on New Telegraph. Reverse fuel, cooking gas price hike now. Reverse fuel, cooking gas price hike now, reps tell federal government. And then in sports, AFCON qualifier fiasco, it's a lie. We didn't apologize to Libya, federal government clarifies. 105 burned to death, 50 injured in Jigawa tanker explosion. And then, those are the stories. And we have a lot of other stories there, but those are the major stories we have on the front page of the New Telegraph. Joining us this morning in the studio to look at the stories that made it to the front pages, we have Nasir Lawa, editor-in-chief, Dateline newspaper. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good
it's
to
just you and I today.
Yeah.
All right, now, interesting stories we have this morning. But starting off with the Jigawa Inferno, it's quite sad what happened. You know, we was opportune to have a conversation with one of the families of the victims yesterday, and it was sad. He lost a brother, and according to him, he said they couldn't even eat in the community that day because of how sad it was. Now, what's your thought on this and the fact that, you know, don't you think as a nation we should have gone beyond having tankers carrying fuel on the road in this age and time?
Well, that's one of the things that the Vice President said in his statement over the tragedy, saying that they will have to review, you know, fuel transportation protocols. We don't know what that means. Probably they want to start transporting it by air. Probably they want to use trains. Nobody knows because he has not said that in the statement. But honestly, if you look at the tragedy, you know, we need to find out how something of this magnitude, you know, was allowed to happen. Because from what we read, they said the driver was trying to dodge a pothole, you know, so that says a lot about the states and the nature of our roads. And then when the tanker fell now, you know, people saw it as an opportunity to now come and start, which is very dangerous. And, you know, if it is somewhere in the southern part of the country, you know, they tend to have more experiences. And even when it comes to taking the fuel, you know, they will tell you, don't come with iron buckets, don't come with this, don't come with that, because it's likely to start a fire. But I don't think the people of Jigawa are that aware, because like I said, this is something that is not very common in that part of in that part of the country. But the fact that we are even reading that some policemen, a policeman, you know, some Almajiri were affected. What were they doing at that particular time? Because they said this thing happened around
11 p.m.
11 p.m. You know, what are Almajiri students, those that should be ordinarily asleep by that time, you know, waiting for the next day's studies. But, you know, our Almajiris are now all over the place, and they are the ones that are now jacking up the number of out-of-school children. And the parents, their parents don't care. You know, they just give birth, they allow the children to roam the streets and what have you. But coming to the tragedy part of it, you know, it's very, very sad, like you said, for people to lose their loved ones in this kind of situation, because from the pictures that I saw, honestly, most of them were not even publishable, like you can see. The newspapers had to select, you know, the few ones that are presentable, that will not end up, you know, raising emotions and what have you among the readers. So, and somehow, you know, our government, you know, has failed in the symbolic part of it. You know, I expected the vice president, for instance, since he is the one in the country at the time that the thing happened, you know, to, even if it means suspending his trip, you know, to be part of the effort to you know, get things back in order. But, you know, like I said, we are always missing on these symbolic acts. I remember in 2023, just train collision, you know, 36 people affected. The president of Greece had to cut short her trip to Moldova and go back to the country. So if we can do something like that, at least the people will now see that, yes, this government is for us, this government is actually cares about us and is after our welfare.
All right, now moving on now, still on petrol issue related now.
Yes.
Lawmakers demand a reversal to petrol price hike, and they said to the old price. And you know, I asked, which of the old prices, please? So what's your thoughts on the lawmakers demanding a reversal? To who and which of the prices? Now, what's your thought on that?
Well, like you said, they have to be clear. We don't know. Maybe they're talking about, because when this government came into power, you know, fuel price was around 200 or so. It went to 5 plus, it went to 6 plus, you know, 8 plus. Now we are talking about 1,013 naira. So they should be clear about what they are asking for. And then also they need to be clear, because the government has come out to say that we are no longer responsible for, you know, price of petrol, because this sector has been deregulated. NNPC is a company, an independent company. So maybe the lawmakers should address, you know, all their grievances, all their resolutions to the NNPC, so that the NNPC will now see whether, based on the realities of the market, you know, it's something that they can entertain. And I also read in some of the papers that the marketers, the labor leaders and federal government officials have already started meeting over the matter, even though some are saying that the meeting has been deadlocked and all that. But they should be clear about, you know, who they are addressing, because the government has come out to tell us that they are no longer responsible for it.
All right. Now, this issue of opposition in disarray, on The Guardian, opposition in disarray as internal crisis battle. We're seeing the crisis in PDP, Labour Party, NNPP. What does this have to say about the opposition parties? You know, gone are the days where, you know, when we had big opposition parties in Nigeria that would really tackle the current party, hold them accountable, bring out what they're doing, be it for the better, for their own personal intentions, or for the good of Nigerians. But what is happening with our opposition parties in Nigeria, and how did we get to this point?
Well, when I read, you know, in the papers that, you know, the leading opposition parties, that's first the PDP, the Labour Party, and then the NNPP, you know, at a point there was a time they said they were trying to work together to see how, you know, they can face the ruling All Progressives Congress in the 2027 election. I was actually one of those who celebrated it, you know, thinking that at least somebody should give the APC, you know, serious run for its money. But with stories like this, you know, the APC can only celebrate because, you know, you don't even have like a unity of purpose at this particular point in time, when there are so many low-hanging fruits, you know, that you can capitalize and make the APC unpopular, but you are dealing with your own internal crisis. Honestly, I think it's an opportunity that they are missing. They are not taking advantage of the current realities in the country. But Nigerians should try and help them, you know, like I always say, you know, without the opposition, we will end up with a one-party system, and that means whatever the government decides, you know, it will just pass. But with a credible opposition, at least, you know, we have a voice, you know, in government that will be able to champion our causes and what have you. So the parties will get their acts together, and because most of these things that are happening are actually things that have to do with 2027. Oh, yes. You know, they're already thinking, if my people are not there, I may not be able to get the ticket when it comes to election time. So they're trying to see, you know, how they can fix their own people in charge, so that it's not about the state of the party, it's not about the country at the moment, it's about who gets the control of the party ahead of the 2027 elections.
Well, we hope that Nigerians would be able to find a way to help them. You know, when it comes to political parties, what I keep saying is we still have the same crop of leaders recycling and changing parties. Yeah. So honestly, I don't think Nigerians have enough options when it comes to picking the kind of leaders they deserve and need. But now, on this story on minimum wage, we've seen the back and forth with minimum wage. States coming out to say they cannot pay the 70,000 naira, and you know, we're not even sure if, from last conversation we had, some states civil servants said they have not even started receiving any at all, and we see things are still tripling in terms of cost in the country. And Lagos State is coming out to say it's going to pay 85,000 naira. Is it good at that, or we should have expected more from Lagos State, being how, you know, they brag about having a robust internal revenue being generated and how commercial Lagos is?
Well, you know, the budget of Lagos State, you know, it's about the budgets of like 7 or 8 states, especially those in the northern part of the country. So they have, you know, resources. They can boast of so many things that, you know, their counterparts across the country do not have. And I remember during the lead up to the minimum wage act, you know, so many people argued that we shouldn't be talking about minimum wage. We should allow states, you know, to decide what they can afford. Because if you make it a law, there are states that, even at the moment, you know, at the local government level, they are not paying the 18,000 naira minimum wage. Now that you are making it 70,000, I don't think they will be able to meet up. So you can see basically what the states are doing, not just Lagos State, even Delta, you know, said they will be paying 77,000 naira or so. So there are states that are well-to-do, that they think they can, you know, afford the 70,000 naira and even more than that. But there are also states that at the moment have not even set up the committee for the implementation of the minimum wage. And don't forget, so many federal government workers are also complaining that even though it's now a law, they have not started receiving any minimum wage. So it's not just about the states coming out to say it, it's actually following it up to make sure that what you promised the workers, you are able to fulfill it.
All right, now quickly before we go, Senate investigates alleged plots to impeach Akpabio. We saw the report here, and is he scared or what's happening? But they've said it is fake. From what they said in the report was it's a possible AI manipulation. But are there really fake news in Nigeria, or is that there's no smoke without fire?
Well, this is the Senate, and I don't know why the Senate is coming out as an institution to say that, because even if this is true, it is the same senators that will still impeach, because they have the right to do that whenever they feel the Senate president has outlived his usefulness or is not making the right impact, or even based on their decision, they may decide just like that they want him removed as the Senate president. If they are able to get the numbers, they will be able to have a change of leadership. So it's not for them to come out to tell Nigerians whether it's fake news or whether it's not true and all that. If it is not true, just leave it like that, because by doing this, you're actually giving more credence to the story. Like a French writer once said, don't believe anything until it is officially denied. So this is basically what is happening. Now that they are denying it, it means, like you said, there is no smoke without fire.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us on the show this morning. It's actually been, like would always say, it's a good thing you come in to always give us fresh perspectives. But quickly now, before we go, let's touch on this. Shetima heads for Sweden as Nigerians await Tinubu's return. Apparently, the highest authority we have in the country now is the Senate president that are crying that they will soon impeach him. No, what's your thought on that? Being that with all that is going on in the country, we have the president and the vice president out.
Well, if our institutions are, strong enough and working the way they are supposed to, honestly, there will be no problem with the president and the vice president being out of the country at the same time. And you can see even the presidency has come out to say that there is no vacuum in leadership. But honestly, like I said, we are missing out on the symbolic part of leadership. Nigerians will now think what is happening in Sweden, the 2-day, because they said the vice president will be signing bilateral agreements and what have you. And then the president has already taken 2 weeks leave. So probably Nigerians will now say whatever is happening in the country, is not serious enough to force one of them at least to be on ground, especially with the tanker tragedy we are having, with the fuel situation in the country, with the hardship and all that. So honestly, I think it shouldn't be just about saying there's no vacuum in leadership, there is no cause for alarm and what have you. Somebody should be here to give Nigerians, confidence that yes, whatever is happening in the country is okay for the president and his vice to be away at the same time.
All right, thank you so much for sharing that perspective with us. We were talking with Mr. Nasir Lawa, editor-in-chief, Dateline newspaper, as he joined us to look at stories that made it to the headlines of the newspapers this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. It's always good to have you with us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, having said that, we've come to the end of Daybreak this morning. I hope we've been able to keep you educated, informed, and at the same time entertained. And I hope we've been able to get your opinion right where you want it to be heard. Well, thank you once more for joining us. At the top of the hour, we'll have sport news with Ajishafe. We'll have business with Chamaka and also news hour. So please don't leave. We have a lot packed for you. I am Lilian Ogazi. Thank you for joining us and have a great day ahead.